Charles Curran here, and I'm in an exciting place that I want to share with you. It's historic, and especially historic in my own life. I am on Isla Mirada, Florida. That's one of the Florida Keys, and the monument behind me is a memorial to the victims of the 1935 hurricane. You may have heard a little bit about that storm. My family were in it. I remember it well, and it's especially touching to my heart because the monument is the burial site for a huge number of victims that were unidentified. They didn't know who they were. They just knew that when their bodies were pulled out of the trees, because this spot here in Florida, the tidal surge went completely over the island. There was no one who escaped. And it was so bad that a large amount of American veterans from World War I were camped here on the island. And to rescue them, they brought a train in from the mainland, from Homestead. That's the town where I was born. Backed it in, loaded it with all these veterans, and then the storm surge swept over the island, knocked the train off the track. You'll see pictures of that, some history books today. At any rate, after the storm was over, and it was the worst, I had the highest wind of any storm recorded, possibly 200 miles an hour. And the reason they don't know is that the wind instruments blew away at that speed. It could have been even more. At any rate, my family lived in Miami. We were caught by the storm because no one knew that it was coming. There was no advance notice. We didn't know it until the wind began to blow. Tried to get to my grandfather's house, but when we came out the door, my brother and I were blown down into the dirt, the mud. My father was trying to get to the mailbox to get his government check. And I remember seeing the wind blowing him away. And he was using a cane like I have, and he had his back to the wind and was stubbing the cane into the pavement, and the wind was popping it up. And my brother and I were in the car watching him just disappear. Well, by the pure grace of God, he was a veteran of the First World War, injured, wounded, and that was the reason he was having such a problem. We finally all got into the car. My mother was going to drive, but when she turned the key in the ignition, it wouldn't start. The wind had blown the rain up under the hood, and we sat in the car for the first half of the storm. Fortunately, we were on the protected side of the house, so the car did not tip over, though it bounced and bounced and bounced. At any rate, that was one of the worst recorded hurricanes in history, and the number of dead was unknown. But after the storm had passed, number of veterans who were killed were burned. Their corpses were burned in Miami at one of the cemeteries there, and then others were piled up. A bulldozer, or maybe just picks and shovels, dug the hole here where the monument is. Their bodies were all dumped into it. So you're looking at a grave and sealed over. My own uncle was then an agent for the Florida East Coast Railroad and was sent to Key Largo 2 weeks before the storm. But he didn't want that assignment, so he got another employee to trade with him and did not move the family down here, so he escaped. But tragically, the other family did not. So I'm here at a memorial thankful to God for His grace and protection, and thankful for heaven and the reality of it. And that undoubtedly many of these who are buried here were believing disciples of Jesus. At any rate, whatever history is wrapped up here, it's an important part. I'm on the island of Islamorada on the Florida Keys. Just remember the name. And think about our need of God's protection and grace. All right? Bless you. We'll talk again soon. Bye.